Good evening, everyone. 6 murder suspects, all under the age of 21, draw a crowd in a Covington courtroom this afternoon.
The men were indicted 2 weeks ago for the drive-by shooting that left 19-year-old Deshaun Peterson dead on a Covington sidewalk. 8 people are charged in this case, 2 of them juveniles. Local 12's Joe Webb joins us with the case the prosecutor says is centered around revenge. Joe.
Well, Rob, this is an intriguing case for a couple of reasons. The victim, Deshaun Peterson, was a well-known athlete at Holmes High School and a musician who had just taken to the streets. Plus, a total of 8 people are charged in his death, 7 with murder, which is highly unusual.
You really needed a scorecard in court this afternoon to keep track of who was doing what, but here's the thumbnail. 18-year-old Hassan Abdullah, 19-year-old Reginald Bates, 20-year-old Jamel Durden, 18-year-old Eugene Smith, and 18-year-old James Young, along with 17-year-old juvenile Jacob Cardenas, all charged with murder. 19-year-old Michael Holloway is charged with tampering with evidence, and an unknown juvenile is also charged, bringing the total to 8. Investigators say they were all part of a revenge scheme over a drug deal that ended in gunfire here on Covington's Garrett Street last October. 19-year-old Deshaun Peterson was shot outside 1705 Garrett. About a dozen of his family members were in court today. They chose not to talk, but suspect Reginald Bates' family did.
He happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and now they got him charged with murder.
Reggie Bates says his son was not involved in the shooting and has witnesses who place him somewhere else when Peterson was killed.
He was not in their car. He was not in the area when the shooting went down. So how you can keep this boy locked up and try to destroy his future is something, is unbeknownst to me. Somebody telling somebody something is one thing, but having to prove that is another.
Bates is one of the few suspects who's hired a private attorney. But even if he was someplace else and did not fire a weapon, there are facts that could get him charged and possibly convicted of murder.
If individuals work together for a common goal, then they are complicit in the crime. And even if you don't pull the trigger, so to speak, you can be charged with murder.
Now, 6 of the suspects were scheduled for court this afternoon. Bates and Smith entered not guilty pleas because of questions about legal counsel. The other 4 will be back in court next week for their arraignment. Rob?
It's fascinating. I frankly didn't know that you could be charged with murder if you didn't pull the trigger, and I bet these kids didn't know that either when they were involved in whatever they were involved in, Joe.
Yeah, the prosecutor that we spoke with in the story, Jim Redwine, who's the first assistant in the Kenton County Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, he said it's like people that use the word complicity is the legal term, but most people think of it as a conspiracy, and if you conspire to do something of that nature, even if you're not the one who actually commits the act, if 2 people go to a house and they use a ladder to break in, one goes in the window and the other one holds the ladder, that guy that held the ladder may not go in and physically steal anything, but he's just as guilty as the guy who did.
Interesting. Joe Webb, thanks very much. All 7 adults will be back in court in March.